Let's keep reading The Sleeping Giant of Goll. We're up to chapter 5. A hidden village. The storm went that way, Kia said, pointing to the highest range of hills. We have to find Julie, and we need to hurry. Come on. What about Galen? Neil asked. He is Droon's greatest wizard, said Max, already scampering up the hillside after Kia. Galen Longbeard can take care of himself. The four friends raced into the hills, following the track of the dust storm. Hill after hill they climbed, higher and higher they went. What if we can't find her? Said Neil, breathing hard as he scrambled up a rocky hillside. No way, Eric snapped. Julie's special. We'll find her. We've got to keep going. We've got to. Max spun a spider silk rope and swung from ledge to ledge, moving ahead of everyone. Suddenly he stopped and pointed his pug nose in the air. He sniffed. Smoke, he said. Smoke usually means people, said Kia. Neil nodded. Be careful. Careful is good. They followed the smoky smell until they came to a break between the hills. Clustered along one hillside were dozens of small houses. They had domed roofs made of dried mud. Smoke wafted up from their chimneys. A village, Eric whispered. In the exact centre of the village was a large round platform. It looked like a giant wheel lying on its side, and in the exact centre of the wheel was Julie, Kia said. Surrounding Julie were hundreds of small creatures covered in red fur. Each one was about 3 feet tall. They had dog-like snouts covered with whiskers except for small black noses at the tips. Their ears were pointy and very long. She's a prisoner, Neil said, and we're outnumbered. Any ideas? Perhaps a little magic will help, Kia said. She waved her hand over the four of them. The air turned a misty pink. The fog of invisibility, Max chirped. Galen taught you well, Princess. Come, let us enter. Hidden by the pink fog, the four friends crept quietly into the village. No one saw them. The largest of the strange furry creatures stepped across the giant wheel to Julie. Now, he said, curling and uncurling his nose whiskers. Now you will get it. Julie shook her head. No, please. Eric stole a look at Neil and Kia. She's in trouble. We need to get her out of there now. Bring the black helmet, the furry creature commanded. I, Batamogi, King of Ubja, shall put it right on her head. Eric couldn't stand it anymore. He jumped out of the pink fog and ran up to the platform. Stop! He shouted at the top of his lungs. Julie is our friend. You leave her alone. All the pointy-eared creatures turned. Julie blinked over their heads. Eric? The small furry king turned. Who is Eric? I'm Eric, said Eric, and if you hurt Julie, we'll be all over you like... Neil jumped out of the fog next to Eric. Like cheese on a pizza! So don't hurt her, Kia shouted, jumping out of the fog with Max. Batamogi stumbled backwards. Hurt her? But Julie is our new princess. She has come to help our people. We are going to crown her. Eric frowned. What? Oh, sure, crown her with something nasty called the Black Helmet. The fox-eared leader held up the shiny helmet. It was covered with beautiful jewels. Black goes better with her hair, the king said. We have a nice pink helmet and 2 powder blue ones, but I think black is her colour. Eric blinked. Well... Julie laughed and jumped over to her friends. These people aren't hurting me, she said. The storm set me down in their village. They've been really, really nice. And it's just like my dream. She turned to the crowd. Everybody meet Eric, Neil, Kia and Max. The furry king bowed nearly to the ground. I am Batamogi, king of the Ubja. We are the mole people of the Panjibar Hills. Batamogi bowed again to Kia. Welcome, Princess. All of Droon knows you, but there is another princess here too, Princess Julie. He handed Julie the shiny black helmet, encrusted with jewels. Julie laughed. I'm really just a regular kid. The king tapped his furry head. All mole people can sense things. We can tell when someone has powers even before they do. And believe me, Julie, you have powers. You will help us, you'll see. Julie blinked as she slid the jeweled helmet on. Cool, she said, but I still don't believe it. Kia turned to the fox-eared, red-furred king. We have come here to find Lord Spa. The mole people gasped and pulled back. Spar, Batmogi snorted with anger. We do not like him. We are peaceful people, but Spar demanded we show him where Zor's tomb is. We have known for ages that Zor lies in the ancient realm of Goll. It is right under these hills. When my brothers refused to tell Spar, he took them away. He said that he would hurt them if I didn't show him where the giant was buried. Batmogi sniffed and wiped his snout on his furry wrist. I had to do what he asked. That's why we're here, Eric said. We need to stop Spar from bringing Zor back to life. The Object King sniffled once more, then stood straight. Then I'll show you where Spar and his nins are. Yes, but first we feast. Come, my people, click-clack. The Object people laughed softly to themselves and scurried away on their short legs. Moments later they were back, carrying a flat, round bread as big as the big wooden wheel itself. Flat bread baked with red sauce and cheese, Batmogi said. We like them big. Sometimes we sit here in the middle and eat our way to the crust. Neil's mouth dropped open. He stared at Eric. Whoa, I guess I did dream of Droon last night, only I didn't know it. Eric smiled as he chewed. He wondered if he too had dreamed of Droon without knowing it. Eat up, Batmogi urged. Our mission is dangerous. He ripped off a piece of cheesy bread and, bowing his head, handed it to the Princess Julie. And Lord Spar will do everything he can to stop us. Chapter 6. A New Enemy. Batmogi led the children down from the big round platform. His people joined him. What is the big wheel anyway? Eric asked. The Object King smoothed his whiskers. Ah, yes. Well, let me explain. There's a big stick here, Neil said, peering around the wheel, like a control stick. What happens if you push it? Ah! The stick squeaked as Neil touched it. At once the wheel began to spin. Then a loud whooshing sound came down from nowhere. A whirling storm of dust exploded up from the ground and encircled Neil and swept him up in the air. Whoa! He yelled, help me! Batmogi quickly pushed the stick back down. The dust storm disappeared and plop! Neil landed in a heap on the ground. Julie laughed. That's how I got here. Batmogi helped Neil up and brushed him off. We call this our wind wheel. We use it to make dust storms to keep others from finding our village. Too bad we didn't keep Spar from stealing my brothers. Then the king led the children to the edge of the village. He turned and waved to his people. They waved back from the big wheel. Where are your brothers? Kia asked. The king tapped his forehead again. I don't know, but something tells me they are alive. Sunlight slanted across the dust hills as Batmogi led the troops into a narrow pass. The hills on the other side rose hundreds of feet in the air. The fox-eared king pointed up ahead. Spar brought his nins through this pass. They came to dig up the giant. We are not far now. Eric shared a glance with his friends. They were heading straight for Lord Spar. I know I say careful a lot, Neil said, but maybe now is a good time. You never know when something might... Flop, flop! The sound of wings filled the air. Whoo! Came a loud cry. Groggles! Neil yelped. No, worse, Batmogi replied. Hide! The air grew hot, and a burst of blue flame shot across the hills above them. Then a giant blue wing flapped overhead. It was scaly and rough. A spiky arm clawed at the sky. A dragon, Kia whispered, touching her feather necklace. It's all blue. Dust and rocks crumbled from the hillsides and into the pass in front of the kids. The shadow of the dragon's wing glided over them. Hoo! The dragon's call coiled down once more. Then the shadow vanished. Sunlight flooded the hill high walls again. The dragon was gone. Batmogi waddled to the middle of the pass and looked up. This dragon has been here since Spar arrived, frightening my people. The hills used to be quiet. I hope they will be quiet again. Clank, clong. From nearby came the sound of metal and stone banging together. Digging, Eric whispered. The king nodded. Come, we're nearly there. Quietly they tiptoed to the end of the passage. Beyond the last range of hills lay a small valley. Holy cow, Julie said. The valley lay torn open. Piles of sand-coloured rocks were strewn about. Flying lizards called Groggles whined loudly as they helped to pull large stones out of the ground. Lord Spar stood by while hundreds of his red warrior nins dug away at the earth. They're digging up the whole tomb, Kia said. They've dug up the resting place of Zor. He won't be resting long, Max said. Look. Two nins dragged a heavy box across the dirt. Eric and his friends recognised that box. It contained Zor's amulet. Spar had stolen it when he turned Jaffa City to ice. With the amulet, Spar could bring the dead giant back to life. The nins opened the box. Spar took out the large black amulet. The jewel in its centre glistened in the sunlight. The sorcerer began to laugh. "He's going to do it," Neil whispered. Spar stepped down into the open tomb. Slowly he strode across the giant's dark chest. He set the amulet into a spot near Zor's neck. Click! It fit perfectly into place. The air grew hushed in the valley. "Now what?" Eric whispered. They heard a grunting noise behind them. "Uh-oh," Neil mumbled. The group turned around to find a fat, red-faced Nin warrior standing over them. "I've been expecting you," he growled.